What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Golf on Tap. As always, I'm Jack Bushman, joined by Ross Baran, and we got Tweeth Mitchell back on the show for the second time here today, ahead of the LIV Golf Individual Championship that's going down at Bolingbrook GC this week, which Tweeth successfully conquered a couple of weeks ago and is the defending individual champion. I don't know how they left him out of the field this week. I'm still kind of scratching my head there on that one. But Tweeth, we want to thank you for coming back on the show, my friend. How you doing here on this Tuesday afternoon?
Thanks for having me. And listen, my agents are reaching out to the LIV people. We hope to get a settlement out of this, at least something. We need better LIV visors, if nothing else, because what they offer is not great. But listen, I took on Bolingbrook. I took on the Beast. I'm the only individual champion this year at that course, and I feel like they did me a disservice by leaving me out of the field. I'm frustrated.
Yeah, a little bit of a slap in the face there by Yasir and company. We'll see if we can get you in there next year, Tweeth. But a big reason why we brought you on, not only because we love you and we enjoy talking, and I know you and Ross are on the Takesman every week and just finished that up earlier, but we want to know a little bit about the ins and outs of Bolingbrook GC because, you know, when it was announced as the LIV Individual Championship, I think wasn't exactly the most hyped reaction by golf fans across the board. Of course, that people aren't really familiar with whatsoever. And as Ross and I were kind of talking about, and I'm sure you guys probably mentioned this on Takesman, and this isn't like to throw shade on you, but the fact that you were able to go and play this course 4 weeks ago, and this is hosting like the biggest individual tournament of the year, I think is kind of like encapsulating how golf fans have felt about this course hosting the tournament. So kind of give us a rundown about your experience on the course out there and what do you think these players are going to be doing to that bad boy this week?
Yeah, I'll say this. Listen, like, it's a golf course. It's a fine golf course. Truly, if it wasn't hosting a championship of any kind this year and I went and played it, I would say, you know what, I had a great time at Bolingbrook. The pretzels in the restaurant were unbelievable. Tortilla soup was great. The locker room attendant, best one I've ever had. Like, dude, it was incredible. Dude was on it. But the fact of the matter is, like, it's hosting nominally the championship, the individual championship for LIV. And, you know, like, I kept thinking while I was making my way through all of the indistinct holes that all kind of look like one another and, you know, are like fine and, you know, whatever. They cut the grass there every day, like congrats or whatever. But, you know, I live kind of near TPC Sawgrass, and I've had the good fortune of playing TPC Sawgrass a bunch. Got friends and family that work for the tour. We get out there a lot. TPC Sawgrass still, after you play it 30 times, is a really great, like you go there and you're like, man, not a blade of grass out of place. Even if it's not your kind of golf course, it feels big. The park feels like it matters. It feels like it was, you know, you have all the championship memories, of course, but like even on holes where you don't have a particular championship memory, you can tell, man, this is like a really thoughtfully designed golf course that's great. And Bolingbrook clearly aspires to that. It's the same kind of golf course. There's an island green, for instance. There's a lot of kind of like water and marsh and like, definitely, like, if you were looking for a comp, that would be the one. And we were calling it TPC broke ass. TPC nobody saw it grass. Like, you know, like it doesn't meet that standard. And I feel bad saying that because I had a great time there and I played well there. Finally, I'm not a great player, but I had a good round there. But like, it's just a golf course. And I think what people are going to see on TV and what you see when they go there is like a bunch of holes that all look like one another, greens that don't really do a ton, and a lot of really, really low scores. They're going to play it as a par 70. We played it as a 72. But the fives they're going to make fours would have been 3.8s to them anyway. Like, it's just, the course doesn't have any sort of natural defense. And I don't care how high you grow the rough. Like, those dudes are going to eat alive. And after 3 rounds, if the winning score is under like 22 under, I'll be really disappointed in, because they're going to fire at every pin.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the expectation. And look, we don't mean to talk down on the course or the experience or anything. We just call spades on this show. And for a tournament that, you know, they want to have this kind of build up in, the atmosphere obviously is a big part of it. And I'm sure, you know, fans out there are going to be enjoying themselves. But when it's that type of golf tournament, it's hard to take it seriously in that big time of an event. And that's where you kind of, I think, lose the real hardcores that want to see guys get challenged, especially when it's like best on best coming down the stretch. But we do still have a good head-to-head battle between Jon Rahm and Joaquin Niemann, I believe. I mean, this is the tough part about LIV, guys. I mean, you just can't really put your finger on exactly what exactly is going on. I'm pretty sure, 99.9% sure, it's only Rahm and Niemann who can only win this bad boy. And that's what kind of stinks is like on this golf course, right? If we had a different true beast of a test, Ross, I think this would be like a sick, actually like marketable thing for LIV to have at the end of the year between two of the more prominent names on their side.
Yeah, and I mean, in general, the only thing I think that's really going to work against this is like it is a 2-horse race going into this weekend. But like Tweeth pointed out, with what the potential scores to be fired on this thing are going to be, where, you know, we're thinking if it's not 20 under after 3 days is a winner, it's a fail. Imagine if you got guys firing like that 20 under, but it's like a 4 or 5 man thing going into this week. That's a product, right? Like that's something you work with. If there's like 4 or 5 guys that if whoever shoots, 30 under out of these 5, right? That's going to be your champ. We're not going to get that this week. It's going to be, all right, well, Niemann shoots 21 under, Rahm shoots 23. They beat each other by like a point, whatever. Congratulations, here's your champion. I don't hate where they're playing or what the scores could be if it was a more open field. If you had 4 or 5 guys going into this thing, but the thing is, it kind of evened itself out, and the top players separated themselves from everyone else in the game on that tour this year, where you're going into this and you're going into your individual championship, your big thing, and there's 2 individuals that have anything to say about it. The rest of the people are just fucking there because they're paid to be there.
And quite honestly, just like kind of thinking about it now, I feel like having it on a course where we believe the players are going to go really low, I feel like it's almost a little bit more of a disservice to have that type of setup when you do have those 2 big names, because I feel like with it being an easier setup, that kind of allows for maybe some more guys to go low, and maybe someone like, I don't know, anyone besides Niemann or Rahm winds up winning this tournament, and it becomes like the old tour championship problem where the guy who wins doesn't wind up winning the tournament, where it feels like if it was playing on a more difficult setup, obviously it's hypothetical, but I feel like that would be make it better to market it as Rahm versus Niemann, because if it is a harder course, it's going to make it harder for anyone else to go low. And then in theory, they're the ones you want to win. That's what you want to market, right?
I would almost say it's almost a guarantee that someone other than Rahm or Niemann goes, because it's like, what are the chances, right? You got 50 some odd people in the field. Somebody's going to torch it. It might as well be Lucas Herbert. It could be, who knows, right? It's not likely to just magically be both of those 2 guys. It's probably those 2 guys shooting 12 under and 15 under, and somebody else torching it for 22 under. It doesn't matter. And that's like kind of what's likely to happen. And the good news is the guy who goes 22 under, if he started on hole 4, you won't be able to tell the holes apart anyway. So it'll feel like he started on the first hole. It'll be fine.
I saw the Joseph LaMagna tweet of they're all the opening hole.
That may be the funniest thing anybody said this month.
That was a bomb. That was a good bomb. Sorry, Ross, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I'm just looking at like this leaderboard, and it's like, if you're going to do an individual championship, and if they want to market their product and be different, make the individual championship, fuck it, 10 guys instead of the whatever. Here's the top 10. The top 10 players have qualified for the individual championship, which we're going to host over 3 days. If you did something like that, tell me that, at least from our perspective, you wouldn't tune in to watch this, because the 10 would have been,
absolutely, if
you made the cutoff, it would have been Jon Rahm, Joaquin Niemann, Tyrrell Hatton, Sergio Garcia, Louis Oosthuizen, Cam Smith, Brooks Koepka, Dean Burmeister, Bryson DeChambeau, and unfortunately Taylor Gooch.
Dude, but that's solid right there. You could market that.
I'm going to say the same thing I say about the Tour Championship, but what if you made a match play?
I was
you got this 10, top 6 get buys. There's just a million ways to make this rad, and but you'd have to have it after the team championship, because the problem is the individual championships now, but they're still earning points for their teams ostensibly, and that happens later. And it's like, and you can't put it after because the team is the thing, right? If the individual champion, it almost be like a sideshow, but isn't it anyway?
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I think they should do the team championship this week, wherever they're going to have that, and then come to Bolingbrook in 2 weeks and just bring 10 guys, like you said, or bring 12 guys and just have them fight it out for a huge, hey, it's winner take all $17 million. Have fun, whatever, some dumb shit like that, or whatever. Just exactly. let's go.
Dude, how big of a move?
I was just saying, I think that top 10 right there, even though it's only 10 players, if you marketed that to me as a golf sicko, yes, I will watch that for 3 days. I will watch those 10 guys tear this fucking course up and see which of those 10 people shoots almost 30 under and wins the whole fucking thing.
I would, because
especially it's 10 of the best players in the world, in my opinion.
But you should do those 10 on a day where they don't close the course down and they got to sit there and wait for the public to just hit their shots. It's going to be slow. Hey guys, we only got you 4 tee times, so figure it out.
Bring in the real elements. Right. But no,
Bryson DeChambeau just drove into a group of people on the green ahead.
Yeah, for real. That's a liability. But no, imagine if they thought about that ahead of time and they power moved this into a match play, as PGA Tour fans have been screaming for that for the last 4 to 5 years, right? Obviously you don't know the guys that you're going to get at the end of the season, the guys that are in the position they are here in the top 10 that we think would make this notable, but still I feel like that would have been a big time power move that maybe would have gotten some PGA Tour fans to be like, and I mean, again, that's a couple, LIV has pushed the envelope in different ways, and that I think would have been a real big one.
Yeah, if you need those eyeballs, arm wrestle the PGA Tour into submission by doing the format that people keep asking for. And listen, they don't have the problem that the Tour has. Tour says we can't do match play because the sponsors don't like it. LIV doesn't care about that, right? What are they give a damn about? They are the sponsor, right? So
exactly.
Do it. There's no reason not to. It's a shame.
And one of the other complaints was that guys would travel and then they'd lose a match and they'd be there for 4 hours. Well, guess what? You're getting the fucking loot over here. So I think you're gonna be just fine.
Yeah.
You want to make it really interesting? Do a 10-man format, non-match play. Just fuck it. It's a 10-man at Bolingbrook. Stableford, go.
Stableford.
I'm in. I'm a LIV bot now. You give me Stableford, I'm in.
So who do you guys think is going to come away with this bad boy, Rahm or Neiman?
Rahm.
I agree. He's playing great, and when he plays great, he usually continues to play great.
And because we can't have Neiman win it, because then he'll just complain he's not in the majors again, and I just can't hear. I can't hear that one more time. It's Rahm.
I agree.
Yeah, don't tell me you're not in the majors when you weren't even the best player on your own fucking little tour.
Dude.
Well, who was it that tweeted today about he at least needs to equal Michael Block's record for top 15s in majors, which has Michael Block has 1, Neiman has 0. Maybe make a top 15 before you start complaining that you're not in them, bro.
Dog, I just could never understand the 30-1, 40-1 Joaquin Neiman to win a major.
Shout out Michael Block.
Oh, hell yeah, Blocky. That's a Blocky visor. That's sick, Ross. What are you wearing with a hat for?
Blocky sent me a visor. He's actually my aunt and uncle's golf coach at Arroyo in California. They've been members at his club for 15 years, and he's been their coach prior to that.
That's sick.
Big blockheads over here.
That was a little gift that came in the mail earlier this year from Michael Block.
Hell yeah, Blocky. That's great.
Wow, that is a crazy statistic. Michael Block.
He has 1.
Well, yeah, now he got it. Yeah. Unbelievable.
All it takes is 1.
We got some guys who are a little interesting, mostly one in particular who's kind of in the drop zone on the verge of being relegated out of LIV, which I think is kind of as sad as it gets in the professional golf scene here, boys. But we got Harold Varner at 47 for LIV this year, which is pretty incredible considering sure, he's not a household name on the PGA Tour, but that was a guy who contended in some big events every now and then. To see him at number 47 is a little bit jaw-dropping. And again, top 50 fighting to stick around for next season here. Pat Perez at 48. And then Ross, guy you mentioned before we got on recording, Kieran Vincent at number 54, and a real tough spot, especially after the opportunity that he had with the PGA Tour last season had he not jumped over to LIV.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably the most surprising to me, only because he was well in the conversation for like PGA Tour U last year to make his way onto the tour via that route, like Ludwig and everyone else before him. And he took the money and went over. And I mean, this year he's well inside the drop zone after 1 year on the tour, where that just seems like a huge career miss if that's going to be the case here.
And that's like a kind of a realization that I think before we really understood, like, I guess the consequences of falling out of the drop zone or really understanding how LIV was going to go about things, I felt like it was a very intriguing option for young players who were potentially about to go on to the PGA Tour. And, you know, it's a little bit of a gamble. You can be as good as you want in college. That doesn't mean it's going to translate over to the PGA Tour. And, you know, hearing the upfront money that they could give these young kids out of college, I felt like that was going to be an interesting path that we maybe could see some young kids take. But this is now just a reminder of life can come at you a little bit fast. Still got to go over there and play good golf.
Can I make a pitch here that would I think would really make an impact on LIV?
Love it.
All right, it's clear that they want to make an investment in some of these like up and coming college players. They got Surratt, right? It's also clear that like the tour needs those players. Like Abe Bobear being like the best example of like, hey, we got a star, right? So if you're LIV, right, what if you every year you're gonna sign maybe like a dozen college players to a 1-year deal? You're going to give them some money that'll set them up for a while. You're going to give them like $2 million each, right? Small numbers for you, but like big numbers for a college kid. And you get like Freddie Ketchup, right? Frederick Ketchup from FSU. And you go get like Ricky Castillo from Florida. These are guys who are on tour now, but could have the last couple of years. They were like, hey, those are going to be the next guys on tour. And they kind of haven't been. Like, you go get kind of those guys, or you kind of feast on the Europeans and the Australians who like, you know, like are maybe having a hard time relating to the American audience anyway. And you go say like, hey, we have a developmental league that plays on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And you come to all our events with us and we host like, you know, you play a real competition while everybody else is playing their pro-am and practice rounds. And the best 4 of you get in and you're the team that week. And you're the young guns. That's what they call it. That's fine. They'll call them the young guns. That team is its own team, but the 4 guys on the team change every week based on which of the 12 qualify in. But those 12 are there to make a name for themselves on LIV. And they're now available for everybody who gets relegated out for those teams to draft from the 12 at the end of the year. So it's like, hey, 4 of you or whatever are going to get permanent spots next year. But every week you have a chance to win real money in this tournament based on which 4 of you qualify in on the Wednesday, Thursday gauntlet that we put you through. And we're going to televise, we're going to put that on YouTube. And we're going to like really like invest in the young guys. But the most important thing it does is it keeps you off of the PGA Tour. And so the PGA Tour can't make a star out of you, even if they want to. They can't make you the next Obear. They can't make you the next, you know, whoever's going to come up through the next Sargent or Jackson Koivun, who's ever going to be the next guys. If they went and got 12 guys, now the number 1 guy every year who's guaranteed PGA Tour status and PGA Tour U is probably not going. So Sargent is not going to go. But you're like Nick Kabrelchik, probably going to go. Like you're like, I mean, Luke Clinton, right? Probably would go if he's not going to get immediate PGA Tour status. Like those, there are some studs in college golf right now. Some real just like Ben James at Virginia would go, and Jackson Buchanan at Illinois, and like some dudes who can fucking ball. And if they just went and got a dozen of those every year, even if it's just to stymie the tour and say like, hey, we spent $24 million to fuck you, it would be the greatest product anybody does all year. And so like, I think it's insane they don't do that. Like they should be actively paying those people just to not play on tour and just have something for them to do. And if those 4 win or they get into contention on a Sunday, holy shit, aren't you watching that? Where you're like, the college kids are going to win, right? The young guns are in it. I would watch that. That maybe the only thing that would get me to watch LIV over what else I'm going to watch on Sunday is like if the Cinderella story happens. So that's my pitch. I hope Red watches this and takes it back to his boys at LIV. But like, all right, tell me what you think. 1 through 10, does that idea hold water for you?
I'm just gonna say right now, since that happened on our show, Tweeth, you can get the money from PIF when they absolutely love that fucking idea, but Jack and I need to be compensated for the fact that it occur on our show is where the idea
we just
came
get like
from.
a little mini bag each, like a little $100,000 each. Let's just for doing it here, just a little mini bag.
Not a big deal. Not a bad of an eye for anybody over there.
I honestly think that's one of the best fucking ideas I've heard.
And I'll take a 3-year contract as VP of development or whatever. You guys just bring me on. I'll come up with it's just crazy that they're not doing this.
Dude, I think it's a really good idea. First off, because the kids are just getting better. They're just getting better and better and better. And this star power that we're seeing come out of college and kids can play right away, I really think that's just going to continue. I mean, the game is just evolving at a crazy rate right now, right? And even the amounts of names that we're hearing in college golf, right? I mean, like my golf fandom hasn't been crazy long. It's been about a half decade now, but even compared to when I first started, just all the amounts of kids that you hear about in college and when they get opportunities, they can contend right away. It's amazing. And also, I think there's a lot of opportunity there for a LIV G League, essentially. And even if how interesting would it be if they went like the soccer route with this bad boy and like these prospects were signed to these teams, like long term, you're seeing what they have in the system. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there with that development type of program. And like I mentioned before, just because these kids are just going to keep pummeling through, right? Like, you don't have to hit on all of them, but if you're keeping a couple of studs off the PGA Tour, that's a win at the end of your day, as long as they're separated.
Yep.
Really like it.
I think there was a video tweet that I sent you probably early last month, and it was like the top 15 or 20 players on PGA Tour U, and it was just their swings. And I think you and I broke them down for like an hour and a half of being like, oh, but did you see it? Did you see the power out of number 11?
Yeah.
If you watch, I mean, we talked about this last time, right? But like, let's say like there were no guaranteed cards on tour and everybody had to qualify their way in, like 60 cards every year would go to like 19-year-olds because they're just like fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, seriously. The guys who have just banked up points on years on end are just, for real, fortunate that that opportunity, that type of system isn't in play at this point in time. But next kind of little topic of conversation I wanted to take this to, boys, was the announcement of the match. Ross, you and I have not talked about this yet on the show. Another edition of the match is going to be coming to TNT. This time it's going to be a little bit of LIV versus PGA Tour action. Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy versus Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau. I'm curious your guys' first reaction to this, and now that the dust has settled a week later, kind of, has your opinion changed at all, or you still feel the same way?
The first thing I want to point out is, if you go back 4 years, did you ever see Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau being like, let's be a team, man?
Yeah, that's wild. After all the disdain, especially the Brooks, just the shaking of the head as Bryson literally just enters his presence and walks behind him, the pure hatred. No one, I think, would ever imagined that type of turnaround. But do you guys feel like, I feel like this is an interesting match in comparison to the ones they've put on TV before, which I think have been a little bit lackluster and not a ton of action, a lot of commercials, right? There's only a couple of shots to show. I think this is like a cool 2v2, but in terms of like what the golf fans actually want to see, like, is this really getting anyone's rocks up?
So I'm in the minority here. I'm gonna voice the minority here.
That's fine. I like the match. It's just,
I like the match. I've always liked it.
Really?
Like I've never, like, it's not real golf, right? It's like it's always been like, oh, it's 12 holes. There's NFL quarterbacks in it or whatever. Like, like it's never really been like a serious thing. Even the Tiger Phil one where they're playing for money and they got all the money out or whatever was like, yeah, they finished with a chip off at dark. Like, it was never serious, right? So I think if you like dispose with the idea that it's supposed to be serious golf, there's a lot to enjoy about it. And they play cool courses. The one at the park was awesome. I had just played there, so it was like, oh, I know all these holes. And that one was great. Like, I like the match. And I think if this one is a little bit more competitive and there's a little more golf and a little less like sort of manufactured enthusiasm, it has the potential to be very cool. However, it also has the potential to go super self-serious, which could be very bad for the match. And if they can still have fun with it, right? If they're out there like talking shit a little bit, even if it's manufactured, and they're out there like making bets and that sort of thing, I think it could be really fun. If they get really serious about it and they're like, hold on, like we're taking my shot. No, we're taking my shot or whatever, then like it could be kind of a drag. The other thing is they still haven't figured out the idea that like one match on the course is not enough matches. They've got to have an undercard to these. And
Yes.
like, it would be so easy to just have a celebrity match. Like even if it was this Jimmy Fallon, DJ Khaled thing or whatever, but like something you can cut to while they're driving up the fairway. So you're not like, you don't have that like cart camera thing where they're just like talking to the camera or trying to listen to their earbuds for whatever Charles Barkley's saying or whatever. Like if you had a B match, an undercard match you could go to, it would be a lot of fun. And I don't know why they haven't figured that out yet, but like, especially if it's 18 holes, where like, God, it's going to be really hard to televise 18 holes when there's only one match on the course. And it could be easy to send one off 8, one off 1, and one off 10 and just be like, hey, we got 2 matches going on. Here's where they're at. I mean, it'd be fun to like, hey, like the 2 have to play each other, right? And it's like, oh, Scottie and Bryson play a match and Rory and Brooks play a match and then the 2 winners play or something like that. Like they could make it, you play 9 holes to then get into, I don't know. But like, it just kind of sucks that there's only going to be one match on the course. And that's like, I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's cool that these guys are doing Jay Monahan's job for him and basically just saying like, we're willing to come together and fuck you if you can't figure out how to make this happen outside of just the 4 of us. And they're going to get a big old bag for doing it. And I just, like, I hope it's cool because I do like the match. I think the match is fun. And I think like, yeah, if you put good golfers on a good golf course on my TV, I will watch it. I don't care if it's for anything. You don't have to get into a major for me to watch it.
I will say, I do agree. I love like the shit talking, and I understand that it's not like a serious golf tournament. I really do enjoy that like casual aspect to it, but it's the lack of actual like product on the TV in terms of there's so much, I feel like, forced content, and it just feels money grabby by the network. And it's exactly the lack of action because there's only one thing going on and there's so much in between conversation that feels like it's awkward. And like, and are we even going to get shit talk in this match? Like we got Rory McIlroy and Scottie Scheffler. Like what are they going to be saying? Like Scottie, is he actually going to talk shit in this bad boy or what's going to happen?
I think Rory's an underrated shit talker. You know who I think sucks at shit talking actually, shockingly, is Brooks Koepka. Like, I don't think he's funny enough.
He's just
like
he's
definitely willing to talk shit. And I've always had a soft spot for Koepka. My son is named Brooks, not because of Koepka, but it's like I got a soft spot for the guy. But he's not a witty guy. You know what I mean? Like he's like kind of a bro. And
he's a
like,
linebacker, football jock, wearing
so
the
like
leather.
The 2 of them are gonna have a really hard time. Like we might get all of the shit talk from Rory and Scottie, who I think are like a little funnier than people give them credit for, particularly if Scottie's gonna come out of the shell a little bit. And it might be like tough to get. I hope they barb back and forth a little bit, and I hope Brooks is funnier than I'm giving him credit for, but I don't think he is.
He gives me the linebacker vibes, just high school Letterman jacket, just he's not really witty, but he's cool. So he's got that status.
A little bit of a meathead. And, but, if he gets his buddies to write him out a couple things for, hey, say this, like maybe it'll get funny.
Right. Ross, what's your thoughts on this match here?
Honestly, I'm going to go right along with Tweeth with all this, that it's playing into like YouTube golf and all that shit is like the biggest new culture out there that is constantly growing. And for whatever godforsaken reason, Jay Monahan and the PGA Tour just seem to pass it over up until recently with like the creator class and everything, and bringing that in was like the first time you've seen them like realize that and be like, oh, this is a big thing we need to recognize. And my favorite part about the match is, from every source I've seen, is like Scottie and Rory went and did this on their own terms. Yep. They're like, oh, fuck you, Jay. Like,
yeah, no. I dare you to charge me $1 million to do this. Like, I dare you. Right?
Exactly. That it's in the even better part is like it's Scottie, who is like the most mild mannered, tempered person in the world. Like, yes sir, no sir, everything. That Scottie just like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, I'll do that. That's no problem.
Yep.
Like, it's the fact that you got someone like him to just go outside the company lines for how straight and of an arrow he typically is, to be like, oh yeah, like, oh, I don't care what the PGA says, I'll do that. That sounds like a lot of fun. And especially when it's someone like Rory, who is the head person for so long on the PGA front, to just be like, fuck you, Jay, we're going to go do this. It's going to be fucking awesome. It's going to be fun. And guess what? We're going to go play the LIV guys. And it is going to be exactly what you've been trying to do, but failed to do the whole time. That's the whole goal. And I love that the PGA guys are just stepping out and being like, no, fuck, we're going to go do this. It'll be fun.
It had to be those two too, or at least because there's only like 6 guys on tour who have enough leverage to do this where it's not going to be a problem. And so if you can imagine this where it's like, oh, well, it's actually Wyndham Clark and Max Homa did it. And it's like, maybe not. Like, like, hey, you guys are both top 15 golfers. Wyndham Clark is, off and on one of the best golfers in the world, does not have the leverage to do this. And so it needs to be like one of like maybe 6 dudes. And for 2 of the 3 who could basically like really pull it off to be like, no, we're doing this because it's taking too long. Like, you guys won't figure this out. There's a power vacuum here where everybody in golf is saying what we want is the best players to play each other. Everyone in golf has said that for 4 years now. What we really want is the best players to play each other at the same time. And these guys can't put a major together, right? They can't get a 150-person tournament on the calendar. But what they can do is raise their hand and say, well, 4 of us are going to play each other because you guys won't do it. And because you won't do it, there is a power vacuum that is full of money. And we're going to go hoover it all up because you won't. And like, good for them because they're going to get a big old bag, and whoever does it next is going to do the same thing. But like, God, is it not just like the biggest, brightest sign to Jay and Yasser to be like, figure this the fuck out, because they're taking up all of the resources that you need to make this happen long term by doing it on their own.
Well said. What do you guys think about the Creator Classic? And also, got to give Homospethian some love in the comment section. Did not mean to forget about this
my guy Homospethian hates Brooks.
And our guy Scratch hates the Bears, but 1-0, baby. Tied atop the NFC Central.
Can't apologize for being 1-0.
Please pick the one right above it. The one right above it is
Listen, I'm in a Hilton Garden Inn. These are not my curtains. I might buy these curtains for my house, though. They're pretty sick.
Scratch is on one today. And I didn't mean to leave you hanging in the comment section, my friend. I haven't hosted one of these in 2 weeks, so I'm a little bit off my game. I'm also coming off a little mini bender down in Fort Myers the last 4 days. So got back in Chicago today, a little bit off of my A game. But where was it? Oh yeah, the Creator Classic. What'd you guys think about that?
All right. It's not for me. That's like, I respect that they did it. I feel like you guys seen Zoolander, right? Like the music he makes, I don't listen to it, but I'm glad he's making it. Like, Creator Classic was not for me. I don't watch YouTube golf. I don't know who any of those people are outside of like, I know who Paige is. I don't like any of the good guys, would not be able to pick them out of a lineup. It was not for me. I'm too old for that. That's not the personality, that's not the bent that I'm after. But I will say I'm glad they did it. I think Chad is trying to do something really specific with golf, which is like bridge a generation and shore up whatever the next generation is for golf. And whether that will be successful or not remains to be seen. But it was not for me, and I was not the target audience for it. So I watched like 10 minutes of it and was like, nope. I do think, I will say though, it's an atrocity that Wesley Bryan was in that field. And a self-respecting tour pro needs to say no to that. And you got to just give that spot to someone else. I know he's a YouTube creator first and a tour pro second. If you got one of the tour cards, that should keep you out of the field. I'm sorry, man. It was not a good look. And I know like he has taken that criticism personally in the past. And I'm saying it's not a personal criticism to Wes. He seems like an awesome guy. I think it was a bad move for his career to do it. I think it made him look cheap as a tour pro. And if I were his agent, I would have talked him out of it. I think his brother should have played it for sure. But I think if you have a tour card, you can't play that thing.
A little bit of karma that he lost that playoff, I'm going to say. A little bit of karma that he didn't come away with that bad boy. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was, I like, again, agree that they did it. And I think it's a start. I don't understand why they did 8 holes. Why not just do 9? I think that would resonate a little bit better and just like make a little bit more sense instead of doing 8 and then randomly going into a 4-man playoff, right? Like it was a little bit wonky in terms of the setup, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Especially because the hard part is like after the 8, like Wesley was the clear winner after 8. Like he's 2 shots ahead or whatever the rest of the field. And it's like, oh no, but you are going to go join these other 3 and you're going to play 1. And then it's like, oh, but he loses, right. To Luke Kwan. But it's like, if we just played 9, like Wesley would have won it outright. Yeah. Which of course you're hoping in that kind of field, the Tour Pro wins the whole thing.
I think it would have been worse if you won it though. Because then you would have had to pretend like, oh, look at the trophy is so meaningful to me. Like it was so much better that another guy won it. And I was aware of Luke Kwan in college, but I did not know he was doing YouTube stuff. So that's my own ignorance still. But like, he's a player. Like the dude is a stick. It's good that one of those guys won it, because it would have been a real even worse look if Wesley's like, I showed up with a tour card, beat up on dudes who do this not for a living, and am now taking it seriously and raising the trophy above my head in celebration. It would not have been a good look.
It would have been, imagine all the corny, like him holding up the freaking trophy and the camera guys just being like, oh my God. Like
his agent had to have been so happy that he didn't win the playoff.
It would have been, and he would have gotten fucking flamed on the old X. Would have gotten flamed. Would have to stay off the internet for a few days.
Would have been a tough Thursday or whatever.
Would have been a tough Thursday for Wes.
Yeah. I mean, personally for me, I enjoy that they did it because it's the tour opening up, and Tweeth, like you said, like Chad is driving all these things behind the scenes, trying to get a new audience and bring this game to light. Personally, for me, didn't get a lot of my attention. I tuned in towards the end.
Same.
Really happy actually that Luke won, only because Luke has kind of converted over to this content creator thing. But he's not just a creator, because like when you look, like he's had success on the Asian tour, he's played Corn Ferry, he's done all that shit in the past, and then decided like, no, this is like my route. My route is I'm just gonna film and do whatever. Like I think he was probably, for the first go at this thing, he was the perfect person to win this, because he is truly a content creator with like all the golf videos, but he has the resume to back it up. Like he's not a nobody. Like he's played on the Asian tour. He's won Asian tour events. He's played on the Corn Ferry tour. He's fought for a PGA card. So like he does have significance of not being a nobody or random winner.
Sure.
Agreed.
Because I don't know any of those other guys, are any of the other ones like former legitimate mini tour players or legitimate aspirational pros? Was it really just like he's the only one?
There's Wesley Bryan.
I know who Micah Morris is a little bit, like, not a player.
Yeah. Luke is really the only one that is like credentialed, like busted his ass on like the Asian tour and stuff to try to get a card at one point.
Yeah, he would be the only one outside of the Bryan brothers that, like, if there was an odds board for this bad boy, Kwan was probably third behind.
You know what I think they could do though, like that I would probably watch if they wanted to appeal more broadly to someone
match play. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Stableford, guys. Again, no. What if we did like a skills challenge, right? Because like the problem is like your women players like are probably not going to contend over the course of any number of holes right there. But like do a skills challenge. Like, hey, like this one is the closest to the pin hole, and this one is the like 100-foot putt hole, and this one is the like. Like they used to do in Big Break, right? Where they have the windows you got to bust out or whatever. Like have like a
when
fun...
Gigi Rodriguez hit himself in the dick.
I just want Big Break to come back. No, but like do something fun like that. Like do a skills challenge. Have them all on the same tee at the same time and talking to each other about, hey, here's how I think through this shot. Here's how I want to do this. Whatever you got to do. Like I think that would be kind of cool to get their personalities out there a little bit and have them like talk through the shots or shit talk each other or whatever. But like people have said this, and this won't be an original take or whatever, but like the value of YouTube golf, right, is that it's edited and produced. And it's easy to watch because it's cut together. And so you take those guys out of that element and you put them in a live environment, and it's suddenly less compelling because that's not the format where it works. So if you meet them in the middle, right, and say, like, hey, we're going to do live, but it's going to be like a packaged, things that is skills challenges or things you can practice, and like you can have quips ready and you guys can barb each other, and like it's not just going to be like playing for birdies or bogeys. That could be like fun, and you could carry that could travel, right? You could do that. So I don't know, like, they don't need to appeal to me. If you guys and people your age loved it, great. But like, I would have liked it more if it was less golfy and more personality-y, if that makes sense.
No, 100%. And honestly, what's kind of funny is I know you said you're not really familiar with any of the guys who were involved in it, but Garrett Clark, who runs Good, he really got famous because of his trick shots on Instagram of him just doing like crazy shit. Mac Boucher, I mean, hit his opening tee shot with the fucking driver upside down, and he does a bunch of crazy like hook shots and stuff like that. Like, I think that is another avenue that they could probably look at as well. And I think, as you referenced too, that would relate to the people who actually do tune into YouTube and watch this type of content, because they're familiar with the personality, and they also see what type of golfers they are by watching those videos too, but they really blow up because they also have that personality along with it. And you didn't really get much of that in this like 8-hole competition type of thing. Yeah. What else we got here, fellas? We got Tiger Woods, PGA Tour. Ross, I know you just wrote up an article about this, so I'll let you take the lead here. Got to report that Tiger and the PGA Tour meeting with the Saudis in New York. Don't really give a shit unless it's the final product at this point.
Yeah, so I wrote a nice little article that'll be out some point, probably later tonight, that I've been writing for us on this shit for a year.
Too long.
Now.
Too long.
Just every time is there's another decision, or no, we met again. I can't say what we spoke about, and that's been for 14 months now. But they're meeting in New York. They're supposed to meet for a week and hopefully hammer out a deal. But in New York with PIF 9/11 felt like a fucking choice and the wrong one, man.
Ross, I'm going to give you an over-under here because I know you're a gambling man. Over-under, I don't know what time Northern Illinois plays on Saturday, but I'm going to give you over-under kickoff for the Northern Illinois game. Do we know a meaningful detail about this week's meetings? Over under, when will we know the first meaningful detail of what came out of these meetings? Before or after Northern Illinois?
3.5 weeks from the
this is way over, right? Like not even close. There's no way we know anything on Friday, right?
Because Jay's gonna do the typical thing that I call Jay out on every time. He's gonna be there. They're gonna knock out these meetings. Everyone's going to sit here for 3-4 weeks and be like, well, what the fuck happened? And then he's magically going to show up at some little event or the President's Cup. Finally, he'll be present on site and just be like, oh yeah, we had a really good talk.
Yeah. Can't give you any details. We're working on it. Two sides are closer than ever. In fact, can I bet right now that the two sides are closer than ever is a sentence that will be said, and we won't know what that means ever, but that exact sentence, with the two sides are closer than ever. When they say that, I want you to clip this part of the show and put it next to Jay saying exactly that, because it will mean nothing.
We'll make sure to pump that out as well as all of us hammering the over on the NIU game on Saturday. We're not gonna know diddly shit.
And then again, I'm just gonna say again, I'm gonna drill this point home because I don't think people have realized this enough. God damn, 9/11 felt like a real fucking choice, boys.
It just shows how little people give a shit about 9/11 anymore. It's like, guys, it's been 23 years. Like, I was an adult when that happened, right? So, like, I can't imagine. You guys were like, what, 3? Like,
dude, I don't even really remember it.
I was in 5th grade.
So
yeah, I was in kindergarten.
I was in 5th.
But like, that just shows like how little anybody gives a shit anymore. Because it's like, truthfully, like, I didn't think about that, and then Ryan pointed it out, and I was like, oh shit, that's right. It's like they're gonna meet on 9/11 in New York with the Saudis, and the consensus response on Twitter is, who gives a shit?
Right.
And like, I understand that, because like, again, like, I didn't notice it. It didn't even occur to me, and that just shows you like kind of like where we're at as a society, where we're just like, yeah, but like, I got a job to do, and I got shit to buy, and I got golf to watch, and like, who gives a shit? And it's like, that's kind of the saddest part of all of it.
Who gives a shit? That is pretty sad. Speaking of who gives a shit about this Pro Core Championship this week? Tweeth, I know you got a pick that you wanted to dish out.
Yeah,
for us.
I want to give your listeners.
I don't even think I got that. So you're doing us a favor with this one. What do you got for us, Tweeth?
All right, so I'll say there are 3 golf tournaments this week. By the way, there's Pro Core.
We're not forgetting the last one. I promise we'll get there.
And there's the Solheim Cup too, which we could talk about if you want to. But I will say that if you're looking for some value in the Pro Core, the type of player that wins this tournament is one who hangs around on tour, has a pretty good year, but doesn't contend, and once all the big boys go away, stabs someone in the heart. And that guy is Visor guy Bo Hostler at 50 to 1. Visor guy Bo Hostler at
in Cali
0 to 1. Uncle Tweeth gave it to you. Put a little taste on it. See what happens.
I like that. Visor gang this weekend up in California.
Come on, baby.
Bo on the West Coast, baby. Come on, Bo.
And he starts hot too. So if you wanted a first round leader pick,
I was just about to say, type of guy that can be 8 under through 10, and you're like, holy fuck, it's one of those weeks, eh?
That's right, man.
100%. Ross, you got anything on the Pro Core? Because I really don't have diddly shit. One guy I was thinking about was Eric Cole. It would make sense.
Also in that 50 to 1 range.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking, but I really didn't give this a deep dive.
Matt McNeely,
that would make sense too. California,
that's another type of guy that you see out there.
I looked at. I actually do have a ticket in.
Let's go
at 20. I got Mav at 20, and I did throw in because every fucking time he shows up, he absolutely plays well. I do have Luke Clanton at a 24.
Don't hate it.
Can you? What's Luke Clanton to top 5? That seems like the bet that wins. I don't think he's going to win the tournament, but if you get 6 to 1 or whatever on a top 5, that feels really good.
You are right on the edge, my friend. They have Luke Clanton at 4.
Okay.
Could probably shop, maybe get a better number, but that's still pretty good value. I mean, dude, so much upside with that kid. And the last couple of years, what this tournament has been is one of those guys who you feel like has been flirting with it a little bit. Luke Clanton, obviously a little bit younger, but up and coming guys have won this tournament the last few years.
Summer of Luke. You got Luke Kwan and now Luke Clanton.
Summer of Luke's. Is there a Luke and LIV this week? Is there someone we should be paying
Lucas
attention
Herbert.
to? Oh shit! First round leader.
Can we do a double Luke top 5 parlay? We get a little Clanton, little Herbert action.
Yeah, Ross, you might have to see what that bad boy's going for.
You guys need a DraftKings or something sponsorship where they can boost that for us. Let's hit the horn here, guys. We're coming up with we're cooking here.
Dude, this has been an episode filled with fantastic ideas. Last tournament we didn't want to.
I did just put in a ticket. I want on record. I did just put a ticket in on Bo Hostler at 50. So
okay,
come on, baby, let's go.
Well, we were gracious enough to have Visor Gang join us late last minute, so we'll ride Visor Gang. I like it.
Love it.
Absolutely, and can't forget about the Irish Open at Royal County Downs, Northern Ireland this week. I know Tweeth, you're super pumped about as well. What are you looking for? You got anyone you're liking? Rory and Shane, I know, are in it, correct? Right?
All right. First, I'm looking for the golf course. That is probably the best golf course anybody's going to see. Definitely for the rest of the year, but maybe all year long. That place is awesome. If you haven't watched the Friday Night video on it, it's fantastic. If you give me coffee golf at a killer golf course, any one of the 50 killer golf courses in Scotland and Ireland, but this is one of the top 5 probably. You give me coffee golf at that course, I do not care. You can play disc golf on it and I'll watch it. I truly do not care. I don't have a pick. I picked Alex Fitzpatrick in the Take Some Spaces just because it feels like one of those kind of like a Højgaard, but not Nikolai, maybe a Rasmus Højgaard week, or like a Guido Migliozzi type week or something like that. But honestly, I do not care who wins. I will not be watching for the leaderboard. I will be watching for the golf course.
I'll always enjoy a beautiful course.
Tweeth, I will say, you threw out multiple names earlier on Takesman, and I did my due diligence for you with the people that you named on Takesman in the hour that we were off. Alex Fitzpatrick is out there at 50 on this thing.
I love it. I love it.
So he is way fucking lower than you would have thought he would have been when you threw out that name.
I would have said 20. I would say half of that. I said 25. That would have been my guess.
Yeah. Alex Fitzpatrick is out there at 50. Guido is at 45.
Come on.
And
what's
Rasmus is at 22.
Okay, that's the right price for Rasmus Højgaard. But I like all those. It's good. And yeah, will it be, maybe not. It might be Seamus Power, or it might be, who knows. But it's gonna be an awesome tournament, even if
Seamus
the
35
last person, even if it's the chalkiest chalk or the longest long shot, the tournament's gonna be great. And what else are you gonna be doing? It's 5 o'clock in the morning. You might as well get the fuck up and watch this tournament and pour some coffee and enjoy it.
It's good. Always a good way to start a nice slow morning.
Is there a better way to start the day?
I do have a single ticket on Irish, and it's the man just happens to clean house on the International Opens, and I do have Bobby Mack at 18.
Ooh, Bobby
Yeah,
Mack.
I don't know if I see him winning 3 National Opens in 1 year, but it's hard to bet against him at this point.
That would be something.
Well, let's just say I bet Bobby Mack at 18 only because I saw Aaron Rye is there at like 14. And I was like, just absolutely not. We're not going to have double glove.
What's Aaron Rye to finish exactly second? that seems to be the Aaron Rye finish.
That's the bet. I can't find any of these props on LIV yet, so we might have to stay tuned on that. The Lucas top 5 double parlay action there. But
I love that.
Feeling some good vibes. You got a couple 50-1 numbers out there. Is it a 50-1 type of week?
I think it is. One of them's going to win.
I could use it after, I'll tell you what, week 1 of the NFL didn't exactly go my way down in Florida. I lost, gave a little too much money back to old Hard Rock than I would have liked. Oh boy.
There it is. Back.
Good. We salvaged it. We got any, final question I had for you, Tweeth. I wrote this down earlier and we kind of got off the topic. You said you had tortilla soup at Bolingbrook GC.
Yes. It was delicious.
Delicious?
It was awesome. Like, I was very hungry. But we got done. I had to fly out that day. And so I took a shower. Locker room attendant, best in the biz, got me squared away real good. I was hungry, sat down, and I was like, I want pretzels. They had soft pretzel sticks, which if that's on the menu, I'm going to order it. I don't care. And I need a little something else. So I was like, how's your tortilla soup? And because you asked me this question, I know that you feel the same way about it that I do, which is like, it either slaps or it's incredibly disappointing, and there's not a lot of in between.
And it's a bold move at a course, I will say. Like,
I was like, how's the soup? I didn't even know what the soup was. Well, how's the soup? Because it's tortilla soup, and it's great. I said, bring it, and it was. So if anybody out there in On Tapville is going to Bolingbrook this week, highly recommend pulling up a seat in the bar, getting the tortilla soup. Nice.
Love to hear that, because especially when, I mean, if you're trying to get it on the turn or before a round, like, you're valuing that meal. Like, you want something good in you for the back 9 or for the start of the round. And when you get bad tortilla soup, then that's just a double-edged sword in you. You get bad tortilla soup, and you got like no food now for the round, which
I don't know if I'd eat it on the course, but like afterward, tortilla soup.
Just a little to-go cup, maybe psychopath activity behavior.
That's right, yeah.
Fast, but sometimes you got to take it on the go. That's what we do here.
Absolutely.
We got anything else that we haven't covered? Somehow on this slow ass golf week, we almost got this thing to about an hour. I'm sure you guys probably talked for an hour on Takesman. So It's been a long night of you guys chatting golf, but always enjoy discussing it. Is there anything that we left out that we didn't get to?
I'll say USA going to dominate the Solheim Cup this week.
I forgot.
For one reason only, Lauren Coughlin, just the most on the hottest streak anybody's been on in a while, and in her home state. Highly recommend hammering the U.S. Typically, I like to root for the Euros and these types of things. Not this time. It's gonna be a bloodbath.
Are you a Euro fan in the Ryder Cup?
Yeah, because Justin Thomas is usually on the USA team, and I don't do that.
Oh, really?
So I may consider rooting for the U.S. in the President's Cup because he's not on the team. But for the last however many years, I have not rooted for the U.S. because I do not root for Justin Thomas under any circumstances.
Also, Ross, I don't know if I've been roommates with Patrick Starr the last 4 years, but how did I not know that Medina was hosting the fucking President's Cup in 2026? Am I under a rock? Where have I been? How did I just figure this out 2 days ago? Shame on me.
Because no one cares about President's Cup venues when it's not Royal Melbourne.
Facts. Still my neck of the woods. I was pretty disappointed in myself. My buddy was like, sorry to interrupt. My buddy was like, pretty sure the President's Cup in 2026 is at Medina. I'm like, I wouldn't know about it if it was. I looked it up. I was like, oh, fuck. Like, it is.
Well,
not bad.
There you go. We'll have Tweeth fly up and we'll do something live on site.
If you want to go to a team event and you want to go because they're going to a great course, the Curtis Cup and the Walker Cup are going to everywhere rad forever. Go look up where they're going because you want to see a great team event at a great course. Curtis Cup is going to like, oh God, I'm going to lose it off the top of my head, but it's like they're playing everywhere. They're playing Pine Valley. They're NGLA, like just like amazing. And fucking Walker Cup's going to be at Cyprus. Like, come on, man. Like those are the events you want. President's Cup, who gives a
shit? Facts. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Golf on Tap. Tweeth, thank you so much for jumping in and sharing all the insight. Hope to have you back again on soon. Ross, appreciate you hanging in on the late night. I know you're on the East Coast, so we'll get this wrapped up for you. But just one quick reminder to everyone who watched, please make sure to go and follow at On Tap Golf on X. That would be a great help. And to also go and follow Golf on Tap on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you may listen to your podcast. It's 100% free. If you're not able to tune in with us live, you'll still catch up on all of the latest episodes. And go and follow On Tap Sportsnet on YouTube as well, as we're really trying to grow our numbers there. But until next week, everyone, crack 'em, lock 'em, enjoy some great golf here this weekend, and we'll see you on the next episode of Golf on